Fluttershy episodes have never really been a problem for me, mostly because I find them to be the most realistic. While the rest of the main 6 tend to not go through the same lesson more than once or maybe twice in order to retain it, Fluttershy has to often repeat the whole be more assertive and confident lesson. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's sometimes how it is. Not only do other people learn things at different speeds and in different ways, such as learning through a book versus learning through action, but they also may need to be taught the lesson multiple times in order to firmly grasp it, because it may be more difficult for that person to not only get a hold of the newly obtained knowledge, but to also be able to apply it to new situations. So you can imagine my approval when a Fluttershy episode that not only deviated from the norm, but also was just generally enjoyable, presented itself. Scaremaster was an episode with a moral that I find to be very important. You don't have to share every hobby or interest with your friends. You can enjoy one thing while your friends might not find it appealing. Now this is a pretty obvious moral, but for kids it needs to be emphasized because I'm sure children get offended or upset when their friends don't show the same amount of enthusiasm for the activities they enjoy. And kids need to be taught that that's okay. Granted, you should share some interest in some activities, otherwise it would be difficult to bond, and there wouldn't be a foundation to build your friendship off of in the first place. But of course, it's fine if you don't enjoy every single hobby your friend does. Such an instance would be unrealistic. Continuing off of this episode did something that most of the other Fluttershy episodes did not. Fluttershy didn't step back because of fear, but because of discomfort and the idea of hurting her friends. Not only that, but she didn't get comfortable right away after the episode concluded. She still went back to her cottage and her hiding place to enjoy the rest of the night in solitude and safety. Now that is realistic. I also enjoyed this Fluttershy episode above the others due to the fact that it didn't disregard continuity. The episode acknowledged Philly Vanilli to remind the audience that we aren't backpedaling or forgetting that the episode ever existed, but rather we're being reminded that Fluttershy is a slow learner and she's still trying to grasp her hidden confidence. And speaking of repeated lessons, I really do admire the main 6's patience with Flutters. They understand that Flutters is having a difficult time gaining her confidence and courage, but they don't let that bother them too much. They're very understanding of her troubles and don't seem to show much annoyance or aggravation. Well, almost all of them. Rainbow Dash was really irritating and frankly kind of insensitive throughout the episode. We as an audience understand Rainbow is full of energy and likes to move fast, as it were, and can get irritated when things don't move along. But she, like the rest of the main 6, should still be understanding of Fluttershy's struggles. She's known Flutters since childhood. She knows what she's like. So she, more than anyone else, should be able to be patient with her, especially this late into the series. But instead, she gave some glares when anyone suggested things that would make Flutters comfortable, was pretty sarcastic on several occasions, and was just generally being inconsiderate of Fluttershy in general.
I wouldn't call it inconsiderate and insensitive. More like honest, blunt, and to the point. Aren't you the one that preaches harsh critique is valid?
There's a difference between being a harsh critic and just blatantly laughing at someone's potential incompetence.
But didn't we need some pony hair to point out the blatantly wrong with how Fluttershy was behaving?
But Fluttershy couldn't help it, and that was the whole point of the episode. It wouldn't exist if it were that easy. By constantly being a dick to some pony who couldn't fix her issue until the very end, no matter how hard she tried, Rainbow was just in general unlikable in that regard.
Ugh, you critics and your "there wouldn't be an episode if blank" failsafe.
Getting back on the positivity train here, there are a few non-story and writing-based pluses to be mentioned. The costumes have improved quality-wise since the earlier seasons. Angel is actually useful this time around, and I do wonder if he planned it all along given how chilly he was about never getting his food, but that's beside the point. And despite the downs from Rainbow, there were a few comedic moments. Nothing belly laugh-inducing, but definitely worth a few chuckles, especially a few of the subtle jokes that were mostly blink and you'll miss 'em moments. Overall, I found this to be an enjoyable Nightmare Nights episode of Season 5, and for that, I'd give it 4 Novas out of 5. And so, with the music playing, I'm Cavatina, and I will see you on the next starry night.